Hey friends, Stephanie Lalo here from Lalo Acres. So we're gonna make a French bread recipe that does not require a scale and weights and all the things like sourdough. Yes, I said it. And I'm using fresh milled einkorn flour. And it works. The first thing I do is I get my active dry yeast. And I'm going to add 3 teaspoons, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to add 2.5 cups of very hot water, like almost too hot to the touch, okay? I'm gonna add 2 cups here, half a cup here, and then we're going to add 4 teaspoons of sugar. You can use maple syrup, you can use honey. We're gonna give this a really good whisk together, and we're gonna set it aside. It'll take about 5 minutes, and we want to see the yeast activate. It's gonna get bubbly and foamy, and that means that it's alive and it's ready to be used in our bread. The fact that I'm milling my flour, you are getting health benefits from it. And I highly recommend y'all look into the Wonder Mill for that as well. Here is our yeast. I just wanted you to see it's blooming, which means it's active, it's alive. If I hold it really still, you might be able to see it actually moving, which is super cool. This step you don't have to do, but I choose to do it because when you fresh mill your flour, you get some extra fibers from the seed and from the hull, which is really good for you. You should still eat it, and we will. I'm gonna sift my flour so that I can separate those extra hulls, and we're gonna sprinkle them on top. And it'll get a little tiny crunch. This is 3, 4. So we're gonna end up using about 6 cups of flour. And again, this recipe, we're not weighing our flour. So this is what the extra berry hull looks like. It's kind of coarse, feels slightly like if you grounded up oatmeal. So it definitely has a texture to it. If I were to put this into the bread recipe, which is totally fine, like I said, it would just add a more denser texture, and I'm looking for a softer, like sandwich bread texture, but I am going to save this. So now I'm going to take my 5 cups of sifted flour, and I'm going to add it, check this out, to my active yeast with the water and the sugar, okay? So my little scraper and start adding some of the flour and mixing it together. Okay, slowly, I guess is a better word, and just kind of incorporating it back and forth, okay? Now, while this is starting to combine, I'm also going to add, and I'm gonna use a pink Himalayan sea salt, 4 teaspoons. You can use a Redmond's real salt. I've used all of them. The pink Himalayan sea salt, I think it's the most personally nutrient dense. I order mine from a company called Azure Standard. It's where I get all my berries as well. They're organic and they provide all the specs on where they're locally sourcing their products. So that was 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm gonna add 2 more after that, just kind of incorporating this in. Steph, if you see this, comment below where you get your wheat berries from. And they're local, they're in Georgia. And all of her products are organic and stuff as well. Okay, so we're almost done with the 5 cups of flour. I'm gonna add 2 more of the pink Himalayan sea salt. Okay. And if you don't really care for salt, you can back off and just do 3 teaspoons, or if you're going to make this like a sweet bread and you want to add like raisins and cinnamon and a little honey, you can also add like Italian herbs and onion powder and garlic powder, and I've done Parmesan cheese and it's amazing. So this is 5 cups here. Now I know I'm going to need to add another cup, and then I'm going to have an extra 7th cup aside while I knead the bread. So let me get that 6th cup in here. This is 6 cups. Now see how watery, kind of loose it is? When you're working with fresh milled flour, the hydration level is going to vary, especially on your location. Like I'm in Florida, so the humidity is really high, so there's obviously going to be more moisture in the air. I'm also using einkorn flour, which retains more moisture also. And so I'm going to add another cup of flour. I can tell already because I want to be able to knead this, okay? Now this extra cup that I'm going to add, I'm not going to sift it. It's going to add a little bit of the hull there, and it's going to help bind it up slightly. It may be a little finicky for me. That's okay. I can always add more flour. Just know that you can always add, but you can't take it away. So it's better to add in slowly as you need it, instead of dumping the whole measurement in there, and now you've got a tough batter, a tough dough, and it's not workable. I'm going to put a whole cup of flour on the counter because with my consistency, it's very, very loose. The humidity is high. It's fresh milled, all the things. So it just takes a little extra effort, but I promise you this is far easier than doing like a sourdough bread. And it's quick. It'll be ready in like less than 2 hours. Okay, so I'm gonna dump it right on the counter. See how loose that is? Again, don't be afraid. If it's too wet, we can always add more flour, okay? But we're gonna do it slow. I highly recommend, if you don't have one of these, they're called a bench scraper. It's amazing. It's to scrape your bench. Your bench is your workspace. I just like to fold it over. It makes my hands less messy. I can always wipe it off and grab a little more flour as I need it, like I said. But this is gonna help me just kind of mix the dough together until I'm ready to knead. So everybody go get yourself a bench scraper because they are awesome. And they're really good for cleaning after you're finished. I did several folds, tuck and fold, just to start getting it incorporated. Now, my flour, this recipe calls for 6 to 7 cups. Ended up taking 8 cups of flour. And I think a lot of it is because one, I just fresh milled it. Could have been a little warm. My humidity's insane. The water temperature might have been off, even though I do this all the time. Like bread is just finicky. But I'm not giving up and I am being patient. So I am going to keep moving it like this slightly. If it sticks, I'm gonna add a little more here, so that it's, workable to my hands. I don't want it to get tough because that can happen if you end up overdoing it on the flour. So now I'm gonna knead it. I did sprinkle some more on the counter because I don't want it to stick, but I need the gluten and the yeast, the active dry yeast, to bind. I need it to stretch. I need it to become active. You can use a hard white wheat, a soft white wheat. Soft white wheat, in my opinion, is best for pastries and baked goods, things of that nature, cakes. You can use a spelt. I love spelt. Sometimes I mix, and that's the other thing is a lot of times when I make this French bread, I do half spelt flour, half einkorn, but I did all einkorn, today. So I sprinkled the bowl, and I'm gonna sprinkle a little more on top. I'm gonna cover it with a damp tea towel, and I'm gonna place it right on my stove over there for 30 minutes. We'll come back and see how it rose. Okay, while the bread cooks for that time, I'm gonna clean up my workstation. You don't have to wipe it down completely. You can leave some of this extra flour here. My counter was clean before I started, and this will just add a little bit of flour, and you'll put a little more down when you need again. But I just want to get any of this loose, dried flour out of the way, okay? And then I'll have my workstation ready for the second knead. All right, we are back, and our bread has doubled in size. So you can see the stretch. That's from the yeast and from the proofing. So I'm gonna put some flour down on here, and I'm going to do another knead, but this one is going to be for shaping the loaves, not so much to activate the gluten. We did that earlier. And because, again, this is an einkorn flour, it doesn't like to be handled too much. So we're gonna just kind of keep it simple with the kneading. I was going to tell you earlier that you do not have to use a fresh milled flour for this recipe. You can use any flour of your choice. I just think that fresh milled is better as far as health benefits and the quality of the flour. But by all means, use whatever you like. Gluten-free does not work. I tried this very recipe with oat flour, a little tapioca starch, the yeast, all the things to make rolls. And let me tell you, it worked. Okay, it's gluten-free. However, I don't care for the flavor as much. Kind of tastes like Play-Doh, in my opinion. The texture is good. They're soft on the inside. You could cut them in half and crisp them in the toaster. But I just didn't care for the flavor, and they were slightly dense because an oat flour is more dense, right? But I wanted to experiment. That's honestly what my channel is about. It's experimenting with new things, getting out of the old ways that we're used to doing things, and becoming more health conscious. We're gonna make 2 loaves out of this. You can cut the recipe in half if it's too much for you. And you can weigh your loaves also if you want them to be equal in size. I don't care. I like simple and easy. And so I'm gonna take one of these. See, it's sticking again. I'm gonna add a little flour here and a little here. Okay, and I'm gonna put this back into one of the bowls here. Okay, I'm gonna grab my bench scraper. I'm gonna put a little more flour down again, and I'm going to, now typically with the recipe you could roll it out with a rolling pin, make it into a flat sheet and roll it. I don't wanna do it in excess, like I said, because of this type of flour I'm using, but for you, you would get a rolling pin, you would roll it out flat, and then you would take 2 sides and roll it in. So basically pretend I'm using a rolling pin right now, okay? Okay, so I just rolled them out. Now I'm gonna take my sides lengthwise and I'm gonna roll them in, okay? You're gonna do this with whatever flour of your choice, okay? I'm gonna roll them in, okay? I'm gonna get some of this flour sticky dough off, okay? Now, it's really long, so I'm gonna take one side here and one side here. For me, I'm gonna take a little more flour. Like I said, you can always add flour, you cannot take it away, so just be mindful, okay? And so I'm gonna roll this and push the sides together. I'm gonna roll it again, push the sides together. This is how it works for me. Push the sides together, roll it, push the sides together, okay? And this is my final one. I'm gonna roll it into the size that I want. Try to make both sides even if possible. Here's the second one. Press out. And fold the sides in. And you probably don't have to press the sides and roll it like this. Honestly, you can just take a big ball and just roll it until it creates the shape that you want. I think it just helps get some of the air pockets out as well. Yeah, so I should put some more flour down sticking on this side. Okay, so here's this one. Okay, good. Now we're gonna take the sides, fold them in, and roll it, fold it. I don't know why I came up with this motion, but for some reason it works. Roll it, fold it one more. I have both of my loaves on my tray, and they fit, they're big, because I had to use extra flour. And they will expand. So they're gonna take up a lot of space on here. We're gonna cover this again with the tea towel, a damp tea towel, and we're gonna set it aside. I'm gonna check it after 20 minutes, see if it's doubled again. And in the meantime, we'll preheat the oven. 350, okay? Okay, folks, the bread is ready for the oven. Look at that, they're huge. See that? Okay, so most of the time I like to use an egg wash, which is 1 teaspoon of water to 1 egg. Whisk it really, really well. Use a basting brush, and you're gonna coat the whole bread. It's gonna give it like that silky golden shine. My basting brush broke, so I don't have one. So what I am gonna do is I'm gonna drizzle some olive oil here, and that's going to help the wheat germs stick, okay? And I'm just gonna lightly brush it with my hand. My hands are clean, okay? So I'm just gonna do this. You can do this at any point. You don't have to use the egg wash. You can use the oil. It will soak in, so you probably won't get the same as you would with an egg wash as far as the golden shine and crust, but this will just help the germ to stick. I'm also gonna score the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm gonna take the germ, so that was what was left from sifting the flour. I'm gonna sprinkle it on top. Sometimes you'll see this in like store-bought bread. Usually it's cornmeal, to be honest with you. But I think sometimes they do add the germ on top, maybe like at a French bakery or where you're getting a real fresh bread. And so I don't want to waste any of this because the germ has so many benefits, nutrients in it. So we want that on this bread, and we want to get it in every bite. It'll add a nice texture to the top when you toast it with some butter. We're going to pop it in the oven for 25 minutes. Okay, in the oven it goes. We're going to start at 25 minutes, and then we will check it. I will show you a test to know if it's done. See you in a minute. This is the fresh milled bread, so it's going to have a little bit more of a flatness. Now, because I had to use almost 8 cups of flour to be able to knead it, it's almost as if it was too much dough. So if I had made 4 loaves versus 2, it would have had more room to expand, I think. And also if I had let it proof a little bit longer. I did the 25 minutes and it did bake for 30 minutes, but let me show you here. It's super soft like a sandwich bread. Okay, and I'm going to show you, it slices really, really well. Quick tip, if you tap the bottom of the bread and it sounds hollow, it's done. If you need 5 more minutes of bake time, feel free. You can make 4 mini loaves, and I hope you enjoy.